Olá, está começando mais um Agro América, aqui no seu canal AgroMais. Programa em parceria com o Instituto Interamericano de Cooperação para a Agricultura, o ICA. O tema de hoje é o lançamento do programa Solos Vivos das Américas, impulsionado pelo ICA. Quem vai conversar comigo sobre isso é uma das maiores autoridades nos estudos do solo do mundo. Eu estou falando do cientista Rattan Lal, diretor do Centro de Manejo e Sequestro de Carbono da Universidade Estatal de Ohio, nos Estados Unidos. Ele recebeu o Prêmio Nobel da Paz em 2007 pelo reconhecimento do trabalho desenvolvido ao longo de 5 décadas em 4 dos 5 continentes do mundo pela erradicação da fome. E recebeu também o Prêmio Mundial de Alimentação no ano passado. Dr. Lal, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. It's a great pleasure to talk to you and to have you here, of course. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on your program. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Lal, let's move on. For starting, I would like you to explain for what's nice, what's exactly the program about ground in the Americas.
The ICA and Ohio State, the Carbon Management Sequestration Center, has started a program called Living Soils of Americas, which means the health of the soil of Americas should be protected, restored, and managed so that it can create and strengthen ecosystem services which are essential for human and nature. So this program was launched about a year ago on 5th of December 2020 on the World Soil Day. So we are now in 1 year after the program, and we hope that it will implement and help translate science of soil health management into action throughout the Americas. And in this regard, ICA is an excellent organization because it has strong linkages with all members countries of Latin America and North America. And it has technical expertise as well as strong policy support from throughout the region. So I think this program will make a strong impact.
Okay, Dr. Lal, the proposal about this program is to bring together, to join public and the private efforts to combat the ground's degradation and by sustainability way. And I question how, what like?
Very good question. Soil degradation is a global problem, and the problem is equally severe in the Americas, especially Central America, the Caribbean, Andean regions, and many other parts. In addition to soil erosion, there's also a problem of salinity. There's a problem of nutrient depletion, reduction in organic matter content, and soil structure decline. So the objective is to work with the land managers and farmers and the policymakers, but also with the private sector. For example, we have worked with the Syngenta, with the Bayer, Monsanto, with PepsiCo, with many other companies to help us translate science into action. So the idea is that the known technology can be promoted with farmers throughout the Americas, and also protect the natural ecosystems as much as possible. And by protecting, we mean if we can restore degraded soils, we have no need to bring in new land under agricultural production. The overall strategy is to produce more from less. Less land, less water, less chemical, less energy, less emission of greenhouse gases, and make agriculture emission negative. Rather than emitting carbon, emitting greenhouse gases, including methane, nitrous oxide, and carbon dioxide, better agriculture can sequester carbon in soil and the vegetation. So it becomes a net sink. We hope that if the program is implemented for a long period of time, which has already started, agriculture will become a solution to environmental issues. That is our goal. That's our strategy.
So, Dr. Is it difficult because it's involve a lot of members, a lot of countries, a lot of people? How do you work for play this program?
EECA has contact with all the member states, and you work with one country at a time. For example, Mexico, Brazil, Costa Rica, Argentina, and in each country, through the government, through the national program, like in Brazil, Embrapa, or University of São Paulo, at Piracicaba, we select key sites which represent large areas. And through the help of the national program, like I mentioned, Embrapa, or universities, we try to test, validate, and find the impact of modern technology. And if it works on a given site and it shows positive results, then the national program and local participant and the farmer organization will help scale up. And so it is simpler, easier than it looks. It can be done, it has been done, and I'm sure it will be done also in the Americas this time.
It's necessary luck and expertise, of course. Okay, Dr. Lal, with the support from ICA, do you pretend to encourage the government, the public sectors, the civil society to create publics to transform the agricultural system? Is it possible?
Thank you. Thank you so much. The idea is to have on-the-ground adoption of best management practices for translating science into action. So translating science into action on the ground requires cooperation amongst multiple stakeholders. For example, ICA, Ohio State, can partner with the private sector to help translate science, providing inputs to the farmers. It can work with policymakers, for example, Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Environment. And by the way, I had a great honor to meet with the Minister of Agriculture of Brazil. She is a very excellent politician in helping translate science into action. Same is the case with other countries. We can also work with the educational institution. So we bring about knowledge about soil, water, air, natural resources, right from the primary, secondary, middle school, so that children are very aware of the importance of natural resources. And of course, we must leave no farmer behind. All the decision making on adoption of technology, on its implementation on the ground, farmer must be integral to this participation. They are the central part of implementation. We want to make sure that none of the farmers are left behind. And we have discussed with the CICA, there are 17 million small landholders. These are farmers who are less than 10 hectare perhaps, sometimes even less than 2 hectare. So our goal is over a period of time to reach all farmers. And one part that is important to bring farmer participation is to reward farmer for strengthening ecosystem services which are of national, regional, continental, and global significance. For example, if through adoption of better agricultural practices, farmer can sequester carbon in soil and the vegetation and mitigate and adapt climate change, it is an impact of global significance. So farmers should be rewarded. Similarly, reward can be given for improving water resources and saving water, improving water quality. We can reward farmer for increasing biodiversity. And each one of these components have societal value. Take the example of carbon sequestration. I estimated that cost of carbon that farmers can be paid can be perhaps $120 to $130 per ton of carbon. That comes to about $30 to $35 per ton of CO2. So if a farmer sequesters half a ton of carbon per hectare per year, they should be paid $60 per hectare per year. And this part of this input can come not only from the public sector, like government, but from the private sector, the companies, commercial company, which I mentioned many, which can benefit also by transferring the technology and provide input to the farmer. So rewarding farmer is a good policy to have participation of the farmers and maintain their interest in this program for a long period of time.
Okay, you talk about money. I think it's really important to get a lot of money to put this program in work. So is it easy to get money from the countries to get money for developing this program?
I think it's a question of developing a program. So if the farmers are adopting a practice and they see that they are benefiting from it, so for the initial perhaps 2-3 year period, they may require some incentive, but for long period of time, perhaps private sector can intervene, or the development organization can intervene, or the taxpayer can provide the funding support. Let me give you the example of taxpayer. If the quality of the food produced is also improved by adoption of better agriculture practices, and the food product has a label that this is a high quality food, which has a nutrient quality which is more beneficial to the health of the human, then the consumer, you and me, will also be willing to pay more for the produce we have. For example, if the quality of corn or the quality of soybean or the quality of wheat is better, and the label certifies from Ambrapa, another government organization, that this is a better quality food, then the consumer will pay for it. So eventually you and I, the consumer of the better food, have to take the responsibility of payment. Please, it's very important that we understand that each one of us, citizen of the world, is a culprit and a victim. And therefore, each one of us has a responsibility to protect, manage, and restore soil and other natural resources. And for that, we should be willing to pay the price. And that price is ecosystem services, which I was talking about. So the funding source has to come from all potential sources, including the consumers. Consumers must also take the responsibility. And the important part to a farm consumer is that the good diet comes from a healthy soil. And a good diet is essential to the health of the people. Therefore, they should be willing to pay for healthy food.
Dr. Lal, the lançamento of the program was made with the Agriculture Ministry from Brazil. So I question, what do you wait from our ministry, the collaborations from Brazil, for example?
Well, initially, I was very impressed with the Minister of Agriculture of Brazil and many other colleagues. I think also Minister of Environment of Brazil and other countries. We expect them to help us translate science into action through policy. And the policy which is pro-nature, pro-agriculture, and pro-farmer. That is what we expect. And I think this is in the interest of national, all the public of the country. It's of the interest to the region. It is of the interest to the continent and of course globally. So translating science into action is a policy which can help make agriculture a solution to the environmental issue. Brazil and other countries in South America, Argentina, Chile, Mexico, and many other, over the last 20, 30 years, have really done a remarkable job in improving agriculture production. In fact, Brazil and other countries need to be commended, need to be congratulated, need to be shown respect that they have done a great job. And I think the next step is to implement policies which are pro-nature, pro-agriculture, and pro-farm.
Dr. Lal, what do you know about our Brazilian intentions to reduce the carbon emissions in the farming productions? Is it in the line with this program?
I must tell you that this scientific work in Brazil, done by many of my good colleagues, all scientists, agronomists, agriculture engineers, is outstanding. It's very good. I can name many. Late Dr. Carlos Seri from Prescaba, his son now, Otto Seri, Dr. Yuka Sa, Dr. Yuri Zin, many other. I had about 15, 20 scientists who provided me support by coming to my center here at Ohio State, and they have gone back and done an outstanding job, world-class science. So I think Brazil should be really proud of their scientific caliber and how excellent path-breaking research they have done. And now the question is adopting that research on a national and international scale. That is where the government, policymaker, private sector, the academic media, and general public and the farmer can play a major role. One of the example of that agricultural technology is direct seeding, no-till agriculture, also called conservation agriculture. Brazil has a very long history of conservation agriculture, and it is doing really a great job in its adoption. The adoption rate of Brazil is second only to United States, and in some respect better than United States, because true conservation agriculture, no-till in a complete way, and growing a cover crop in the rotation cycle is adopted in Brazil and many other countries in Latin America. And I think it's a role model. And I'm very, very pleased. I hope that other scientists from other countries will do the same thing. I might say one more thing. Brazil is ready to work with ICA, I hope, to make tri-way cooperation. For example, Ohio State, ICA, Brazil together could work in sub-Saharan Africa in translating the known science of conservation agriculture into action. We could work also together that parties, Ohio State, ICA, Embrapa, or University of Sao Paulo, and other university could work in South Asia and elsewhere in the Central America and the Caribbean. That would be a very good next step.
Okay, Dr. Lal, here in Brazil, the agriculture is very based on science. We grow up because of the science. So I believe that the program about the ground in the Americas is a lot of appropriates from technologies and the science. Am I right?
I think this is correct, but the science is there. Validating science under on-farm condition is the next step. And the living soils of the America is really aimed at that direction, on the ground adoption of best management practices under on-farm condition, real world situation, and monitoring the impact of proven technology on a research farm under real world situation. And that step is a very critical step. It's a very important step. And this is where we need the support from policymakers. We need the support from private sector. And of course, we need the support from the farmers and land managers. And I think it's going to happen. It's coming. The cooperation that ICA has received is really very impressive. I'm very pleased with it.
Dr. Lal, when you talk about this program about the ground in the Americas, you think in a big, in a great, in a global scale. But how this program can help the small farmers in Brazil or in another country, for example?
Very good question. We have 17 million small farmers in South America, Latin America, and the Caribbean. We have 570 million small farmers in the world, Asia especially, Sub-Saharan Africa, the Caribbean region, Central America and else. So the question really is how to support these small farmers everywhere, including South America, because these 570 million small farmers, they feed about 3 billion people worldwide out of 7.5 or 7.6, 7.8 billion people total. So that's a very large population. So making sure that they are not left behind is very important. That brings me to the question of Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, also called the Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030, number one goal is end poverty. Number two goal is zero hunger by 2030. The goal number one and goal number two, including perhaps the goal number 13, which is a climate action, and goal number 15, land degradation neutrality. These goals cannot be adopted if the farmers, land managers, are not part of this entire operation, especially the small farmer. So poverty, hunger, means improving productivity. It means improving farm income. It means eliminating lack of resources that these poor small landholders do not have. It means creating ecosystem services as a source of another income stream. And that is where I was talking about payment to farmer of $120 to $130 per ton of carbon is a very good idea. It will meet sustainable development goals. And we still have 9 years to go. We are ending 2021. 2030 is when we must achieve the goal. We still have an opportunity to do that.
Okay, Dr. Lal, one time during a speech, you said about the importance to conservation of the hydrographic basins, water, and grounds. So, what's the importance that this union? Is it possible to conservation a lot of this?
Yes, thank you so much. That's a very good question. In addition to climate change, we have a question of excessive water use. In fact, 70% of all water, fresh water, used in the world is by agriculture, for irrigation, for livestock production, for many other purposes, 70%. And if we adopt better water management on agricultural farm, that can make a big difference. Topsoil to about 1 meter depth for agricultural ecosystems and natural ecosystem. Soil is a very big reservoir of fresh water. And the fresh water storage in the root zone of the agricultural ecosystem is called the green water supply. Green water because the plant growth depends on it. So on the green water supply depends all the terrestrial life. In fact, it is that water stored in the root zone which is the basis of all life. And one of the critical factors that increases the green water supply in soil is the soil organic matter content, which should be about 3.5 to 4% in all agricultural soils in the root zone, which means it should be about 1.5 to 2.0% carbon, organic carbon in the root zone. And many agricultural soils are depleted. Instead of 1.5 to 2%, it can be as low as 0.5% in degraded soils of the tropics. Therefore, restoration of soil carbon is a win-win-win option, triple win. Number one, improves productivity and eliminate hunger and increase farm income. Number two, mitigate climate change. Number three, improve water quality and storage and renewability. So it is really a very important option to create a healthy environment. So not only soil quality is improved, but the quality of water and renewability of the water is also improved through restoration of organic carbon. This is why Living Soil of the America program is basic, very important, very critical.
Dr. Lal, we are coming to the end of our program, but I have a last question for you. For you, what does the ground means in a little short?
If you and I are talking the same language, we are talking about ground means soil beneath our feet. So when we call solutions underground or climate underground, we are talking about the top soil, 30 centimeter, 50 centimeter. And this top 30 centimeter in Latin term, it's called geoderma, skin of the earth. So the living layer skin, living skin of the earth. And on this living skin of the earth, which is finite, which is fragile, which is prone to degradation, depends all terrestrial life. So understanding its importance, understanding how it is impacted by anthropogenic activity, making sure that our public, our farmers, our policymakers, they understand how to protect it, how to restore it, and how to manage it, not only for the present generation, but for future generation. So we are talking about living skin of the earth. And that is why the project Living Soils of the Americas.
Okay, Dr. Lal, it's always a great pleasure to talk to you and have your participation here in our program, the Agro América. Thank you so much for your participation here and see you next time.
Having me on your program, and all the best to you.
Thank you. O Agro América vai ficando por aqui. Se você gostou do nosso programa, quer rever o conteúdo ou mesmo indicá-lo para alguém, a íntegra deste programa vai ficar disponível no canal do AgroMais no YouTube. Eu peço que você continue aqui na nossa programação, porque ainda temos muita agroinformação para você. A gente se vê. Até lá!